It is leading with the helmet. I'm Danny. He's Goods. You can follow me on Twitter at Danny Mata Jr. You can follow him on Twitter at Fire and Miss. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, night, whatever. In this rendition of the show, we'll talk about Nathan Peterman maybe being the worst starting quarterback in the history of football, and there's some numbers to back that up. We'll talk about Le'Veon Bell and how much he is royally screwing fantasy owners right now, and we'll even talk about a newspaper involving Uranus. But we will start with last night's game with the Bengals and the Ravens. Goods, both you and I took the Bengals in that game. AJ Green goes off in the first half. Bengals defense looks really good. And the Ravens took an understandable step back when you go from playing the Bills in week 1 to not playing the Bills. Your thoughts on what happened last night?
Well, I honestly felt both teams played bad. The Ravens more so because Cincinnati's defense made them play bad. But if it wasn't for Cincinnati's defense coming up strong, then that offense would have handed away the game even after scoring 28 in the first half. Because they just started coughing up the ball with 30-second possessions. Defense started getting tired. That's when the points started coming in. And then the one time Cincinnati does put a drive together, only because of a holding call, which gave them a first down, and then the defense got 5-6 minutes of rest, then all of a sudden they get a fumble recovery and get Cincinnati back in position to get a field goal. So defense really stepped it up for Cincy, saved them, helped that offense out, even though they really put them through the grinder, exhausting them.
You know what? Really, it's one of those things about Thursday night football, especially early in the year, right? You get these games that are being played on 3 days of rest, and then early in the season, and guys are still trying to find their rhythm. You get a little bit of ugly football. But I'll tell you, man. As you remember when we started this show, I liked the Bengals in the preseason, and I liked what I saw last night. And I agree with you that the second half was a bit sloppy. But I got to tell you, this is part of the reason why I like them. They're good in the trenches. They've got a really good, defensive line, and Geno Atkins, you can make a legitimate argument, is the best defensive tackle in football. And then you have an upgraded offensive line. You got the skill position players they've got, and you just kind of seen it. The first 2 games, and then the defense making plays too. You get a fumble return for a touchdown against the Colts. Yesterday you get the sack fumble with Flacco at the end that basically seals it. I really like what I'm seeing out of this Bengals team, and I think I don't think that this is a fluke. I thought that last year was a bit of an aberration, and I think that I was in the minority of people who thought that Marvin Lewis should keep his job, and I understand all the arguments. I'm not going to argue with. I'm not going to even dispute any of them. The guy's never won a playoff game, and he's been there for a long time, and I get it.
Yeah, 0-7's rough.
Right, yeah, and I get it. Look, I'm not going to argue with that. But people who remember where the Bengals were before Marvin Lewis and where they've been under him, they've been largely pedestrian. But I think a lot of Bengals fans would take that over just the muck of despair that they were in for, 10, 12 years there for a little while. But I think this is the team that they've been waiting for. And, I think we saw glimpses of it a couple years ago when Andy Dalton had a terrific season, then broke his thumb late in the year, which I thought derailed a very promising run for them. I think this is the best team that Marvin Lewis has ever had. And I really think it's impressive what we've seen the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to defense for Cincinnati, and we'll see how far they can take them. I don't know if Dalton could carry them like an elite quarterback.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and you're right, because we Andy Dalton has created a lot of questions in his career, and there's no doubt about that. But I will tell you, there is no question, however, about just how terrible Nathan Peterman is. I wanted to get to this topic because to me it's shockingly bad. For those of you who didn't watch the Buffalo Bills game, I tell you, you really missed just a thing there. It was absolutely glorious. Nathan Peterman last year gets a start against the Chargers for no reason. No reason that I could figure out that made any sense. They bench Tyrod Taylor. They start Nathan Peterman. He proceeds to throw 5 interceptions in one half. The Bills are down 37-7 at the half. Not only does he come back, make the team for second year, he's a starter on opening day, a move that Goods, I was not a fan of. And I'm not a Bills fan. This is just like an objective football, thing. I just think it's horrific that this guy got another start. So he comes out, he throws 2 more picks, and the Bills are down 40-0 while Peterman is in the game, which means in 2 starts for his career, he has thrown 0 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and his team has been outscored 77-7. Goods, my question to you, is Nathan Peterman the worst starting quarterback in NFL history?
Well, let's look at some stats. I happen to have some right here. Jamarcus Russell, right? He's obviously one that comes up. His career QB rating is 65.2, which is almost double that of Peterman's. And then, his season low was when he was a rookie. It was 50.
And by the way, 65.2 is horrible, right? We know that. We know that to a certainty. It's horrible.
And it's still almost double that of Peterman's.
Right.
But his rookie year, Russell had the lowest, which was 50. And he had 3 touchdowns and 11 picks for the season. And then another guy everyone likes to talk about, Ryan Leaf. His career rating ended up being 50, and as low as his rookie year at 39. He had 2 touchdowns and 15 picks.
But here's the strange thing about that. By the way, in 2 starts, Peterman's at 0 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's right on that pace. He's right on that Ryan Leaf pace right there.
Yeah. But I will tell you the big difference. The biggest difference. Why it's hard to argue that. Jamarcus Russell, number 1 pick. Ryan Leaf, number 2 pick. Nathan Peterman, 171.
Well, I get it. Not the investment Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf were. I'm not saying this from a standpoint of biggest draft bust. I'm talking from what we saw out of each of those starting quarterbacks. Nathan Peterman is right there with as I think as bad as you can get because, Ryan Leaf's numbers are ugly. And I have to tell you, even I did not know he had 2 touchdowns and 15 picks one year. That's just all right. Anyway, but Peterman's been outscored by 70 points and he didn't even finish his 2 games.
No,
and managed to be outscored by 70 points. Like, you look at those scores, like they let the first thing I thought was they let the fans come out and play or something. Like somebody win a contest, like the fans suit up and play. It's ridiculous. It may not be the investment. I just think in terms of performance, that guy is. How did that guy ever get the starting job? Like, I understand the Bills' offensive line is absolutely terrible, and they took that into account. I understand that. But it's the same thing I said about Tom Savage last year with Deshaun Watson here in Houston. What exactly did Nathan Peterman do at any point other than be in Buffalo to warrant the unconditional, you're our starting quarterback guy? They took Josh Allen with the 7th overall pick, and they proved to be the worst team in the NFL 1 week into the season, and less than a year after they snapped the longest playoff drought in the league. That's some encore.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. That's just that.
I'm there with you. It's too baffling. I can't. I don't have a magical pull an answer out of my ass trick for you. I'm just like, that's all I got.
It's one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. So here's another thing. So as you know, we both obviously play in a couple of fantasy football leagues together, and in one of them I had the first pick, and I took Todd Gurley. And I am telling you right now that watching what is happening in Pittsburgh with Le'Veon Bell, and there's a lot to talk about with the Steelers, but Le'Veon Bell is holding out again, and now there are reports that he may sit out the first 10 weeks of the season, which is the maximum number of games that he could miss, or he could miss 10 games, and he would still be eligible if he played the final 6. He'd still be eligible to be an unrestricted free agent next year. That is absolutely insane. How surprised are you that it's gone this far?
I am. Especially with Bell seeing how well Connor performed. I mean, he really shouldn't be trying to piss off the Steelers like this. He had 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. Connor did. So Bell should look at that and be like, "Oh, I should probably show up now. They seem to be doing okay without me." And now he's losing all his leverage.
Yeah, here's the question I have about that though, because it's an interesting topic that got brought up this week. The Steelers went from Super Bowl contender with Le'Veon Bell to tying the Browns and damn near losing to the Browns. And despite turning the ball over 6 times and should have lost the Browns, they tied the Browns. And that was without Le'Veon Bell. But as you mentioned, it's not like James Conner was some kind of a bum out there. So how much my question is, how much of an impact did Le'Veon Bell have on what we saw on opening day? Because stats don't tell the full story all the time, but at the same time, Conner had himself one hell of a day.
Well, I say it's great from playing standpoint for Connor. Now, obviously, I mean, the players might have been distracted, but this is typical Steelers, too. They always play down to the competition, I mean, all the time, for the last few years at least. That's why I picked the Saints to lose to the Bucs, because for some reason that team in the first 2-3 weeks is jinxed. And then the Steelers, they got a stereotype of just playing down to the competition. But I mean, this Bell thing was obviously a distraction, so I believe that's why Tomlinson just cut him from the roster this week. He's not active at all.
He's not even on the depth chart. Yeah, exactly. I think it's interesting because it kind of also gives you an idea of maybe what Pittsburgh's thinking as an organization there too. I mean, here you go, you lose Le'Veon Bell, you go and you don't give him that money, so instead you play James Conner and the guy goes crazy. But on the other side of that, they were playing the Browns. The Steelers are terrible on the road, which is why I actually picked the Browns to win that game. And I felt really good at that. I felt really good about that prediction at the end. And when that field goal got blocked, that is one of the most insane finishes to a football game. It's one of the craziest games I've ever seen. Because you thought Pittsburgh, when they were up 21-7, might close the door on them. And then Cleveland ties it. They're in position to win. It's the most Browns way to end a game to have their field goal blocked. In your estimation, should the Browns celebrate this? I mean, because they did snap a 17-game losing streak. That is a fact. They snapped the losing streak. So should they celebrate?
No, they're a professional football team, and you don't celebrate mediocrity. You strive to be better. And to have a field goal blocked is not something you want to celebrate. And that's why you lost. No. Like when the Vikings were playing the Seahawks and they were the underdogs, like, "Oh, guys, we almost won. Let's go." No, they were pissed when Blair Walsh missed that field goal.
Hold on a second. But you're talking about the Vikings.
I don't care. No, they don't grade on a curve in the NFL.
Good. This is the Browns. They are the epitome of everything that embodies a participation trophy. Okay?
You don't celebrate a choke. I don't care what team or who you are. They don't want to celebrate missing.
This is the first time they haven't lost a game in a year and a half. That's insane. That's just absolutely insane. And I think only the Browns could find a way to snap a losing streak and still not win a football game. Trey Wingo from ESPN tweeted that out. He said something effective. It was the most Browns thing ever to snap a losing streak by not winning. And it really just perfectly encapsulates the Browns. It really is a fascinating thing because I guess you have to start somewhere. And you're right. I don't believe in the participation trophy or that stuff. But they were 0-16 last year. They came in having lost 31 out of 32 games, and they didn't lose. It's baby steps, right?
No. Your field goal kicker's been practicing field goals, and he missed the field goal.
That wasn't just on him. The kick got blocked. I mean,
I
it's on
understand,
someone,
but
not just the kicker.
Well, yeah, but it's like the whole special teams. Then, I mean, that's all you practice is that. You mess it up.
So I just think so. I wanted to do this, and I understand we're going to do a similar exercise to this later, as is tradition. But you look at the Browns, and they had their chance to upset Pittsburgh at home, and they didn't do it. So their next, here's the rest of their September slate. At the Saints, home to the Jets, at the Raiders. Do you see a win in there?
I think they could beat the Jets.
I thought maybe the Raiders. I don't know what to think about the Raiders after week one. They kind of hung in. I think they're a little. They kind of hung in there a little bit, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Rams hardly played in the preseason, looked a little rusty at the start of that game. I guess when I look at the Browns' schedule, it's hard for me to think they're going to beat anybody. But I will say this, and I think you would agree with me on this. I do not see, from what I saw from the Browns on Sunday, I do not see an 0. Well, let me rephrase this, because of course they're not going to be 0-16. I don't see a winless team this year. Do you?
No, they'll beat somebody. They might even have 3 wins. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see a winless team before the year began. But I certainly don't feel like they'll go winless now. This Le'Veon Bell. So I guess the question here is on this Le'Veon Bell thing, to wrap this thing up. Does it get like, if you're upper management in Pittsburgh, do you feel like you've gained leverage with Le'Veon Bell because of the way James Conner played, or do you feel like you're losing ground because you tied the Browns?
Bell couldn't have changed tying the Browns, but I mean, does he need to run more than 135 yards and 2 touchdowns? Or could Bell have done that? I don't know, but I know that should be enough to win a football game.
Yeah. I would fit. Yeah, exactly. It should have been enough to win a football game. I think the easy answer is, well, if James Conner could do that, what the hell would Le'Veon Bell have done to the Browns? And I get that. And I understand that argument, and I fully endorse it. The reality is we don't know, and you're right. James Conner's performance should have been enough to beat the Browns. Like, the Steelers have some problems here that I think go past Le'Veon Bell, and I don't know how much he can fix it. And plus, this is a guy with injury issues. Like, we know that. And yeah, he didn't get hurt last year, despite holding out all of training camp. But if you just look at his history as a player who gets hurt, last year is very much the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So the longer this goes on, I don't know how much you can really expect from the Steelers. I really didn't like him at the beginning of the year. Ben Roethlisberger, he looks a little slower on his release and his reads, and I know that Pittsburgh's like yin and yang when it comes to home and on the road, but what I saw against Cleveland tells me there's a lot more problems with this team than just how they play on the road. There's a lot of reasons I didn't like them, and I don't feel any differently as of Sunday. Anyway, so we'll move on from this. What do you want to talk about, Goods?
How about no first-year coaches won a game?
Yeah, that is one of the most insane starts to a season. No first-year coaches winning. Kind of an aberration in itself, but there are some coaches I think are dead man walking. Anyone that stood out to you as far as, okay, that guy's gone. 1 weekend of the year, that you don't feel is an overreaction.
Okay, I got kind of one that ties in to 2 different scenarios. How about Vrabel?
Yeah, that wasn't a good start.
Because the defense on the Patriots held Houston pretty good. And we know that Houston offense was pretty explosive last year. and all of a sudden they held them pretty good first week. Now it's only 1 week, who knows, but still. And then all of a sudden the Titans lose to the Dolphins, who the Dolphins in the offseason virtually imploded the entire team.
Right.
And they lost by a fair margin in that game, so not solid there.
Yeah, the one I thought, and honestly, the Bills losing 47-3, I thought was heinous. And yet somehow, I don't think they had the worst performance of the whole weekend. The worst performance of the whole weekend, the opening weekend, was the Detroit Lions.
I was about to say that too.
Because you're at home on Monday Night Football against, okay, fine. The Jets are better. We knew the Jets were going to be better this year. But you should, for the Lions, who have a quarterback, they have a franchise quarterback, one of the highest paid guys in the NFL, at their home field. This is a team that had a winning record last season. Loses by 31 points on its home field to the Jets.
Yeah, that was awful. And it just got worse and worse the more they tried to use Stafford. That's what's funny.
Yeah, I think the Jets look a lot better than I think they actually are. The same way with the Ravens. Like, one of the big things that I kept telling people, like, I don't know how much flack you got for taking. I mean, we both took the Bengals. I don't know if anyone gave you any flack for that, but people looked at me like, "You see the Ravens last week?" I'm like, "You know who the Bills are? Like, don't overreact to the Bills." Like, I feel like, I really feel like that wasn't. I mean, that was a great performance by the Ravens. Don't get me wrong, but the Bills are just abysmal. But for the Lions, there's just no excuse to lose like that on your home field. And I thought it was stupid of them to fire Jim Caldwell. And then I thought it was and then for them to go get Matt Patricia, I thought it was just a stupid thing. And what you saw was, I don't see any way that this turns around for the Lions. How you lose by 31 to the Jets and you suddenly flip the script and you're back in the playoffs.
Well, they were in trouble anyway. I mean, they got the Packers and the Vikings in that division, and then there's no chance in hell at a wild card. So they were pretty screwed anyway, but this kind of performance really doesn't feel good.
This kind of performance tells me that they're going to be picking in the top 10. And people always talk about don't overreact to 1 week, don't overreact to 1 week. I understand. I'm a proponent of that. But the Lions just lost by 31 points to the Jets in their home field. And again, you got a defensive coach who's a rookie head coach, and he's got to find a way to remedy this. I don't see it, and I don't think that would happen under Jim Caldwell. But I like what you're talking about though. First year head coaches. So going through all of them, let's take a look. So we'll start at a place like the Colts, for example. The Colts lose to the Bengals. They get Andrew Luck back. I mean, what you saw in that game, what you read on the game, I mean, for the Colts, I've said for a long time they're going to need a lot more than Andrew Luck back to be good. But, I mean, they played the Bengals close for a while there, and then it just kind of fell apart on them at the end with the chance to win the game. How you feel like Frank Reich's going to do? You feel like that's a ship that can be righted?
They have enough pieces where, I mean, they're not going to be a great team. But I think they'll be one of those competitive teams that's like 6-10 to 8-8, somewhere in that region. But they'll definitely be better. I mean, the Bengals are a good team. That's no shame in losing to a team that's solid. So I think he's got a good start. And then with Luck, I mean, he just needs more time. It's been, what'd they say, like 600 days or something since he's played a game?
Too long for a guy that good. Like, I still will never get myself to fully believe how the Colts screwed up a sure thing like Andrew Luck. I'll never be able to figure that one out. All right, you mentioned Mike Vrabel and Miami. This to me is only going to get worse. You know how I felt about that hire. I thought it was stupid. The Texans allowed the most points in the league last year with Vrabel as the defensive coordinator. I understand that they had a lot of injuries. I was here. I was covering the team. But nothing about allowing the most points in the NFL screams, oh, this is the hot hire of the offseason. After 1 year as a defensive coordinator, Vrabel goes in. He looks completely overmatched as a head coach, and now he's going to go in and play the Texans in week 2. And he's talking about Marcus Mariota's up in the air. He's questionable, and that's fine. But he said that we might see Blaine Gabbert and Marcus Mariota both play the two quarterback thing, because that always works so well. And then also one of those quarterbacks is Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah. I'm going to just go ahead and nod to C. Peterman, because that's about what I feel is happening there.
What in the holy hell is he thinking? If Marcus Mariota is not healthy enough to play and you've got to go with Blaine Gabbert, okay, fine. But what fantasy world are you living in where you think that you're going to play Mariota and Gabbert in the same game together intentionally, and that's going to work out well?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scheme or something in my head. I don't get it.
Just idiots. All right, new rookie head coach Pat Shurmur, New York Giants lost to the Jaguars 20-15. I'll tell you though. I mean, I'll say this: like that offensive line against Jacksonville, they allowed 2 sacks. Manning got picked off, and it didn't look good. But you know what though? Saquon Barkley was able to break off a long one, and they kind of hung around in that game. They had a chance to win it. I mean, Jacksonville, obviously one of the better teams of football. If you're the Giants, are you encouraged by a performance like that at home?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. That was an AFC Championship team last year, and you learn a lot playing such a good team. You learned what your strengths were, you learned what your weaknesses are, and I think that's one of those teams that they can really learn from it. They got a lot of veterans. They're like, all right, guys, let's look at tape. We got to improve on this, and then I think they will learn from that game more than it hurt them, for sure.
It's an interesting matchup they're going to have with the Cowboys this week. You have 2 offenses that looked very bad in the opener. Now, they were both playing pretty good defenses, but when you look at the Cowboys, look at the Giants. One of those teams has Odell Beckham and the other one doesn't. It kind of tells me that if we're going to have a low-scoring shootout, the Giants might find some success against the Cowboys this week.
Yeah, I mean, they got more weapons, that's for sure. Everyone's just keying in on the running game for the Cowboys now.
What was your thought about what you saw in that Cowboys game? It was 16-8. Anything surprise you?
I honestly was. I thought Prescott was going to perform better. I don't know. I guess he really misses his weapons. I mean, Witten is a Hall of Fame tight end. That's big. And then Bryant, I guess he meant more to the offense than I assumed. I thought he just kind of talked a lot, but yeah, Prescott really struggled. But I mean, and now teams are just focusing on Elliott. They've become one-dimensional.
I think, Jason Witten will cover up for a lot of flaws because you can rely on him on third down. That offensive line will cover up for a lot of flaws, and Zeke Elliott will. But the one thing is that receiving core has been really bad for a while. And, Dez Bryant had that huge year in 2014, but he hasn't been that guy since. And he got injured in 2015. He's had injury issues last 3 years. He's had drop ball issues. And, a lot of people have been asking, why would the Cowboys get rid of Dez? Why would the Cowboys get rid of Dez? He was their best player on the perimeter. Well, yes, he was. He was their best perimeter player, but he's not an elite perimeter weapon. The Cowboys have been bad on the perimeter for a while. I will say that I understand from the outsider's perspective, like why there's questions about why the Cowboys have cut Dez Bryant. But for people that know anything about this Dez Bryant case, the Cowboys assigned basically babysitters to make sure Dez Bryant stayed out of trouble off the field. And when your production starts to slide and you're throwing tantrums on the sideline and a team is committing resources to babysit you off the field, it gets old fast. And if you want to know why Dez Bryant doesn't have a job, that's why.
Is that true? They actually hired babysitters?
They hired effectively babysitters to make sure he stayed out of trouble.
That's
You
pretty
know,
funny.
look, man, Des Bryant's a guy who got into a domestic violence dispute with his mom. All right, I'm just saying, like, he earned it. He earned having to get babysat by a pro sports team. And you know what? And maybe that's okay when you're a top flight prospect. And maybe that's okay when you're living up to expectations and you're scoring 12, 13, 14 touchdowns a year or whatever he was scoring during that run that he capped with 2014. But it's not something that teams want to put up with. Late. When you start to drop passes and your production starts to diminish, and you're still throwing tantrums on the sideline. Like, word like that gets around because the guy writing those checks is Jerry Jones, and and team presidents and general managers and all kinds of officials. They all talk to each other. Des Bryant's got a reputation, and that's it. And this whole idea of why he's not signed to a team to me is baffling. It's a weird question people keep asking. But anyway, that being said, the Cowboys definitely need somebody on the perimeter. I don't see any way that anything that happened to the Cowboys on Sunday changes. Like, nothing about what I saw tells me that that's going to get any better for them.
Yeah, I had more hopes for the Cowboys, but after seeing them in action, they kind of dropped a lot on my power rankings list.
Yeah, they looked helpless offensively for most of that game. And you know what? And look, a lot of things change from week 1 to week 2, and they might go out and beat the Giants. And if you figure, it's not a terrible matchup. The Cowboys have a decent defense. They've got a pretty good pass rush, and they're playing the Giants and a turnover-prone quarterback. They're at home. Maybe they bounce back in week 2. But again, straight matchups on paper, those teams are about the same, except one of them has Odell Beckham on the perimeter, and the other one has no one on the perimeter, which tells me the Giants have more chances to make plays than the Cowboys do.
Yeah.
So, doesn't look good. All right. Let's wrap up this rookie head coaches thing that you mentioned that none of them won. Steve Wilkes, Cardinals, losing to the Redskins 24-6. I'll tell you, I love David Johnson, but if he's going to be great, if you're a fantasy football fan, he's going to be great this year. You're going to have to hope he has one of those Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson kind of years where he's great and the team isn't, because the Cardinals are not good at all.
No, I think it was 2 passes thrown over 15 yards. Like, not even completions, just attempts.
Yeah.
Like that, you can't have that. You got to spread the field.
Right. And Alex Smith couldn't have had a much better debut. He looked good. And, obviously a guy very well, Adrian Peterson, he could still run tough. Not a great yard per carry average or anything like that, but he can still run pretty tough. Carlos Thompson's a really nice complimentary back. We knew that Washington was going to be better. We knew the East was all right, but and it's hard to kind of gauge it when they're playing just the Cardinals. But a lot of encouraging signs. But I think the Cardinals will be bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
And the last, I guess he's not a rookie head coach, but he's a new head coach of the Raiders, John Gruden. So interesting thing that happened this week, John Gruden went out and said that Derek Carr was missing a lot of throws. He said, hey, Amari Cooper was open. I wanted to get him the ball. The quarterback didn't do it. You don't usually hear coaches call out quarterbacks like that. But I guess when you have a 10-year contract and $100 million worth of cushion, you might feel like you could be a little bolder than others. What are your thoughts on Gruden and the Raiders? Is it still too early to call, or do you feel like this is going to get ugly?
This is like last year. It's like I see so much talent, but they just lose. It's baffling, and I want to say that they'll turn it around because of the talent, but then if it's the same as last year, then they won't. So I don't know.
Yeah, to me it's insane. Like I really. At what point do you start getting really concerned about Amari Cooper? This was a guy that was really good his first 2 years in the league, and then he, just has a big drop off last year in production. Had some injuries in there, and then he's just non-existent. Now, granted, he's got Marcus Peters that covering him. It's an elite Rams secondary, and I get that, but at the same time, if you're an elite player, you got to make plays. Amari Cooper's just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Well, maybe he can only hope to settle to be good.
Yeah, I guess so. So, what'd you think of your Vikings?
Um, I was happy. I mean, the defense held strong. 3 picks. Hopefully, Harrison Smith starts getting the respect he deserves. The guy had a sack and a pick. Xavier Rhodes with a pick 6. I mean, they were just all over the field. The depth of that defense is unfair. And they held what everyone thought was going to be an amazing Garoppolo offense and just shut them down. Made them look bad. And then the offense did what they're supposed to do, get a lead, so that way the defense can pin their ears back and do what they want, and then just hold the lead. It got a little interesting in near the end. I was getting a little worried, not going to lie, but the defense came up strong. The offense didn't turn it over, so I was happy.
First loss of Jimmy Garoppolo's career. Interesting game, as it turned out. And Garoppolo hits his tight end. I think Kittle for a touchdown. Guy drops. It could change the entire outcome of that game. There's a lot of weird stuff. I'll tell you one thing, man. Like there's no margin for error. Against the Vikings. If they blow an assignment and you don't capitalize, that's a huge missed opportunity because they don't blow assignments very often. And I think what you saw in that 49ers game, just the missed assignments and all that kind of stuff that they couldn't capitalize on. And then when the Vikings are playing like they can on defense, they will make a lot of really good players look really bad. And that is just such a terrific defense. I kind of expected a little bit more out of the Vikings offense. I won't lie to you. I don't think that's a very good 49ers defense. But opening day, they played within the game plan. I think we'll learn a little bit more about them moving forward, about Kirk Cousins and how he's going to handle this. But because, of course, their opponent this week is the Green Bay Packers, who pulled off one of the most insane performances we've ever seen. And really, not so much the Packers as it was Aaron Rodgers. Now, I know you hate the Packers, and I know that. But even you had to see what happened on Sunday night and go, damn. Am I right?
I've never hated players, mostly. Not entirely. So just, I
don't know.
teams.
I think Manu Ginobili, is one guy I know you absolutely hated.
I think Robert Horry passed him.
Okay, both of them, fine. If they played with the Spurs, you probably didn't like them.
But there's players I respect, no matter what team they play for. I mean, talented player is a talented player. So,
what Aaron Rodgers did that night was incredible. Am I right?
Yeah, gimping around, slinging touchdowns, no problem.
You just see your entire world flash before your eyes. Like Rodgers gets hurt, and it's thinking, and you can see it. Oh no, here we go again. And he gets on the, he gets carted off. I mean, how many guys used to get carted off come back into a game? Like that just never happens.
Yeah, I was thinking they were doing a bad thing, and bringing back an injured player is just going to get injured worse.
Yeah, well, I thought he might be done for the year. I thought he may have ripped his ACL or something. Or as it turns out, he was just able to go out there and sling it. That was one of the crazier comebacks, and just the way he was slinging it against the Bears defense. It was a attack mode all night. And the thing is, we're all talking about Aaron Rodgers, and I think what gets lost in this is oh my God, Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
How did the Raiders trade that guy? He is. If you look at what the Bears have at the linebacking core, that thing they have a linebacking core that like when the Bears get good, they're gonna have the best linebacking core in football by a mile.
He was an instant payoff.
Oh man. But seriously, between Floyd and Roquan Smith, the rookie, and then Khalil Mack, it's just crazy to me. And the play that play where he ripped the ball, straight up ripped it out of Kaiser's hands, that's just Khalil Mack's a monster. I can't believe the Raiders gave him away for 2 first-round picks. I don't get it.
And gave up a second.
Yeah, and then gave up a second to incentivize the Bears to do it. Are you kidding me? Oh man, and I don't want to diminish anything about what Aaron Rodgers did or Khalil Mack, but I do want to get on this because I feel like it's not said enough and not said as often. So I just want to say this to all of our listeners and every one of you cheesehead fans in Wisconsin. I hope you understand Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre ever was, and it's not close. Like, and I know that to you, Goods, I know you know that's true, but there's a lot of people that don't, that are in Wisconsin, and they don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't even put Brett Favre top 10 all time.
I don't either, and I to me, I've got Aaron Rodgers down there at 3 or 4. Like, depending on what day I wake up, it's Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers at 3 and 4 for the all-time quarterback list.
I mean, you can't lead the NFL history books in interceptions and be considered better than Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. Who never turns the ball over. He's thrown 40 touchdown passes twice, something Brett Favre never did one time. And I know people like Brett Favre. He never missed a game. He was never out there. Like, dude, that guy was a turnover machine. You know, he threw 20 picks a year. Like, I don't know how many times he threw 20 picks in a season, but it was too many for me. You know, it was enough to help him become the all-time leader in picks. And I really hope people understand that when I say Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre, that's not an opinion. That is a statistical fact. That's anybody with reasonable objectivity knows that Aaron Rodgers is way better than Brett Favre ever was.
Yeah.
Cool. And he's going to play on Sunday, I think.
Favre is going to come back?
No, not again. He's already come back like 18 times. I think Rodgers is going to play on Sunday, and then your Vikings have got yourself an interesting matchup. This is one. I don't know if Packers fans are looking forward to this one or not. I think a lot of them were. They were thinking, "Oh, wait till the Vikings see us with Rodgers," and now they see Aaron Rodgers' knee and they see a defense like that, and they go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, one bad hit and it's all over again.
Yeah. He's officially listed as questionable. Hasn't practiced this week. It'll be kind of a game time decision. I think he plays. I can't imagine him not playing after what we saw against the Bears.
Yeah, he'll probably play, but losing a lot of that mobility will be huge because the Vikings are a fast defense, especially in the front. And if he's not able to escape, then he's not going to buy more time for those receivers to get open. That's going to be a hard day.
Yeah, and I mean, that offensive line in Green Bay is one of the better offensive lines that you're going to find in the league, and they are going to have to bring their absolute best game against a terrific Vikings defense. And again, the Vikings are on a short list of defenses that you could argue are the best in football. So that's going to be an interesting one. It definitely helps that he has a lot of weapons to throw the ball to. The Vikings are one of those teams that you've got to be on your game when you play them, because if you're not, it can snowball on you fast. And Aaron Rodgers at less than 100% is definitely concerning. But I will say this. I would take Aaron Rodgers on one leg over damn near everyone else with two. There's like a few guys that I would, obviously that take the Brees and the Bradys and guys like that, but I would take Aaron Rodgers over just about everyone in the NFL on one leg.
Yeah, plus the big thing, I don't know if a lot of people know, but for whatever reason, the Vikings struggle against good tight ends. And so Rodgers might abuse them with Graham quite a bit.
Yeah, it could be it could be a very interesting matchup to watch. I was interested in that how Graham didn't do a whole lot in week 1, but yeah, that's a good observation though. I mean, the Vikings have had issues covering tight ends for some weird reason, and we know Aaron Rodgers. If we know that, Aaron Rodgers knows that.
I hope so, because he gets paid a lot more than I do.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about quarterbacks. We talk about Josh Allen's going to make his first career start against the Chargers. Great, good for him. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But of all the rookie quarterbacks, I've got to tell you, I don't think if you're the New York Jets and you took Sam Darnold, I don't think you could have felt a whole lot better. Because I mean, that it looked like it was going to be a disaster. He throws a pick six in his first
Yeah.
play, and
First
then
pass.
and then right after that, it was and again, one of the most impressive things that I saw was watching how he just bounced back. He completes 16 for 21 on the day, 200 yards, a couple touchdowns. I mean, he bounced back, and his team won by 30 points. What did you think from what you saw from him?
I agree with the bounce back thing. Like, it's easy to succeed. It's hard to fail and then get back to succeeding. And he had to learn that one real fast, but I mean, he did it. He threw that pick six, and he's like, "Oh damn, this is going to hell. My first ever real game, and I do that." And then, but no, he was able to just wipe it from his memory, get back to the game plan, and handle business.
The last time Andy Reid had a young quarterback sitting on his bench, waiting in the wings to, learn things and come out and excel, that guy was Donovan McNabb. Now that guy is Patrick Mahomes. He throws 4 touchdowns, and basically Tyreek Hill beat the Chargers by himself in one of the more dominating performances you will ever see by a receiver. He had 170 yards receiving. He ran back a kick for a touchdown. He's absolutely insane, Tyreek Hill is. But yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes and everything, I mean, it was very impressive. They go into LA and beat the Chargers. I don't know if the going into LA part's really that impressive, because the Chargers don't put any of their own fans in their own stadium. There's only 27,000 seats in that place, and they can't put their own fans in it. Like, nobody roots for the Chargers anymore. But either way, that was a hell of a performance by Patrick Mahomes. I mean, as far as the rookies go, and I know he's not a rookie, but he's a first-year starting quarterback. That's probably about as impressive a performance as you can get. Am I right?
I was actually pretty blown away. I did not expect. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, he's got a strong arm." And all. I was like, "Yeah, but that's a really good Chargers defense. We'll see what happens." I could see him, overthrowing Hill or whatever. But he did not. He dominated that game, and I was truly, truly surprised.
Yeah, it was impressive to watch it play. And again, like when you look at the Chiefs roster, they fit perfectly into what this guy does, right? Because you have 2 vertical threats and Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins that can pull defenses off, and then that leaves a lot of the middle of the field open for guys like Travis Kelce, who was quiet against the Chargers. He wasn't really involved in the game, and that's scary. The Chiefs threw up 38 points in a day where Kelce wasn't even involved.
Yes, neither was Hunt.
Right, and Kareem Hunt wasn't involved, but that's another guy who can catch, who can get open underneath. And again, like Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill were relatively quiet, and they scored 38 points. It just gives you an idea how many weapons these guys have. The Chiefs are really good. Really, really good. So some surprise performances over the weekend, and we'll get back to we'll wrap this up with some of these last 2. I know you picked Tampa Bay to beat the Saints. That was a hell of a pick. I tell you, I didn't see that coming, and I sure as hell didn't see them dropping 48 points on the Saints, a defense which, of course, I had in my fantasy league. I would have been better starting no one at all defensively. I would have been better off doing that. So
what'd they net you? Like -5 or
-5.
Oh, yeah?
They netted me -5 points. It was the absolute worst possible performance. No sacks, no turnovers. Ryan Fitzpatrick throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He actually won a shootout with Drew Brees. First of all, what the hell went into your thinking for that pick for Tampa Bay? And you didn't have him scoring 48 points either.
No, I didn't think it was going to be like one. I thought it was going to be at best like a 1-point last-second field goal kind of thing, or a last-second pick to shut it out, something like that. But like I said in last week, is just the Saints refused to win in the first 2-3 weeks of the year. every year. I have no idea why.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing though. If you're gonna lose, I mean, you got to have a more inspiring performance on defense though. Like that really concerns me. Getting 48 points thrown up on you by the Bucks, and I'll tell you one thing. This kind of changes a lot of things for the Bucks too. You know, Jameis Winston comes back and in week 4, if the Bucks can eke out another win here and get out 2-1, you know, I said it last week. I don't know why Jameis Winston still has a job, and really the truth is, like, the only way I think he can save his job in Tampa because of all the off the field issues is if he becomes the guy they drafted first overall. And they definitely have some weapons in there in Tampa. I did not see them doing to the Saints what they did to them. Do you have concerns as the Saints defense long term? Because I know you talked about their first 2-3 weeks, but 48 points that's pushing it a little bit. Are you concerned long term about the Saints?
Well, their defense was much improved last year, but their defense was also very young. So sometimes these young players, it goes to their head and they start struggling. I mean, we'll just have to see if they can overcome that and get headstrong and talented again.
Yeah, that sophomore slumps. You get coordinators that get looks at you. Yeah, it's interesting to me. To me, when I see a team march up and down the field on anyone with relative ease, I mean, they had 529 yards of offense with a backup quarterback. And when I see something like that, and I understand it's just one game, and I understand it's the first game of the year, but that's a lot to fix. I have concerns about the Saints. I don't have concerns over the Texans. I know you and I talked about that. You and I both like the Texans to win. I think we both got a little bit ambitious, and so did I. The Texans hardly played their starters at all in the preseason. They got virtually no work in the preseason. And I think that you saw a lot of teams that did that, like the Cowboys, the Rams, the Texans. A lot of teams that did that, they started off really slow. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to fix anything. But, like, here's the one thing I'll say, man. The Texans didn't get anything out of Deshaun Watson that resembled what he did to them last year. He looked like a guy who hadn't played in over a year because of a knee injury and then didn't have a preseason. I mean, he looked rusty. And they only lost that game by 7 points.
Yeah, and plus, you never want to play a Belichick team that's had basically an entire offseason to prep for you. So, I mean, They were ready for that game. They knew how to make Watson uncomfortable, and they did that. Plus rust. I mean, they're going to get it.
Yeah, the one thing I doubt about Houston, though, is I do wonder about Bill O'Brien, their head coach. And this is why. So a year ago, the Texans are playing the Patriots. And you remember when Watson goes off and the Texans had a chance to kick a field goal and go up by 5 points and force the Patriots to score a touchdown. Or they could throw the ball on third down and try to clinch it. They decided to run it. They kicked the field goal. Brady came back and won the game anyway. They had a chance to ice a game against the Seahawks. They took the ball out of Watson's hands. They ran it. They got conservative. They lost the game. So a lot of that, I think, comes from fear. Is that Bill O'Brien he becomes afraid and he tries to play the clock and he gets too conservative. I think what you saw that against New England, like that catch that Rob Gronkowski, that 28-yard catch that he had that set up the touchdown for the half, the catch that wasn't a catch. Bill O'Brien should have called the timeout. If he calls a timeout, they review it in New York and they would have overturned the play. Instead, because he's afraid, he starts thinking, well, if I call a timeout, that's just going to give the Patriots more time to regroup and call another play, and then they can score a touchdown and all this other stuff. Whereas had he done that, he would have wiped out a 30-yard game. Instead, he lets fear take over. The Patriots score a touchdown. I think they're up 21-6 at the half, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Fear is crippling, and I think that the Texans have a head coach who's afraid, and that makes me question how far they will ever get with him as a coach, unless he can absolve himself of that fear.
Yeah, those are all very valid points. I can't really argue with any of that.
No, it's interesting, but I'll tell you one thing though. I as far as the Texans regular season, I don't worry about them at all. Again, Watson looked rusty. He looked well. But I'll tell you one thing. J.J. Watt played really well the second half of that game. It looked like they, the defense really hung in there and played well despite the fact that the offense didn't really give them anything. So for as bad as the Texans played on opening day on the road, they lost by 7 points. And, I think I don't think that's the last the Patriots are going to see the Texans this year. So it'll be interesting. And I think the Texans getting some players back, like Will Fuller, who's, anyone who saw Watson last year when he was playing, Will Fuller he's a speedster that can burn deep, and they were fantastic together. He gets Fuller back this week. He didn't have him last week, so we'll see. All right, you want to do game picks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do game picks right now. And how did you do last week? I didn't calculate my record. How did you do last week?
7-8-1.
You were 7-8-1.
Not good.
That's not very inspiring. I'm gonna have to go back and calculate what my numbers were, and we'll see who does better at the end of the year. That'd be a good little competition for us to have. We'll just kind of see who does better at the end of the year. So we both took the Bengals. We're both 1-0 this week. So if you guys want to follow along with us, we're on NFL.com, going the schedule straight down. If you guys want to follow along with us, all right. We have the Panthers at the Falcons.
I think the Falcons are going to bounce back this week and beat the Panthers.
Falcons at home is so good, but they're missing Keanu Neal, and they've got a linebacker out. I'm going to take Carolina on the road. So we'll disagree on that one. Colts at the Washington Redacted.
Okay. The Colts, I think they learned a lot from week 1. I believe they'll pull it together and be a very average Redskins team.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get a gauge on what I saw from opening day from Washington, especially when you consider the fact that they were playing the freaking Cardinals. But I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. Alex Smith, I don't like that Colts defense. Washington's at home. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Redacteds. Texans at Titans.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, exactly. I look, man. I had to give it to you. I have to ask because we've got to go down the list.
All right, I officially choose the Texans.
Yeah, I cannot. If Blaine Gabbert is a part of your game plan, you're losing. You're losing. So the fact that they're even entertaining Blaine Gabbert playing alongside Marcus Mariota just kind of shows you just how incompetent Mike Vrabel is and how overmatched he is as a head coach. It was a terrible hire. I think the Texans kill him. Eagles at Bucks.
I think the Eagles are going to give quite the wake-up call to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think there's a big difference between the Saints defense and the Eagles defense, especially with 10 days to prepare. I agree with you. I'm going to take the Eagles. I don't know how much better Foles looks, but I definitely take the Eagles. All right. Chiefs at the Steelers. And, side note on some of these games is that Pittsburgh is a 5-point favorite at home. So they're getting quite a bit of points. And Vegas likes Pittsburgh a lot at home. Who have you got?
I was truly impressed with the Chiefs last week, and the Steelers still just look like the same old Steelers, but I think the Chiefs, they'll take this one.
You know what? I think the Chiefs too. I know everyone likes Pittsburgh at home, and I know they're a very different team at home, and I think they're going to play. They'll show some signs of life on their home field, but I'm just not a fan of the Steelers, and I don't. I think that there's a lot more wrong with them than just they were on the road. They were playing the Browns, guys. They tied the Browns. And regardless of how good you think the Browns are going to be this year, if they've improved, the Browns are not good. They're going to pick top 3 in the draft, guaranteed. I know it's opening day. I don't like Pittsburgh. I'm taking the Chiefs. Dolphins and Jets. That ended up being kind of an interesting. I don't think anyone saw both those teams being 1-0 after week 1.
I didn't either. This one was weird for me. how much did I believe in the first week's win for either team? And the answer is very little. But I believed in the Jets more because I think the Lions are better than the Titans. So that's and the Jets are at home, so maybe a little advantage there. So I went with Jets.
Yeah, I think their rookie quarterback went on the road and beat the Lions. I don't know, rookie quarterbacks on the road, that's typically it spells disaster. They got through that. The Dolphins aren't very good. I'll take the Jets. Chargers at Bills.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are really going to have some vengeance to lay out on the Bills. And remember, last time they played, they got 5 interceptions and a half. So
right off of Nathan Peterman, who will not start this week. Although they did have to think about it apparently, because But again, the only thing I can think of is for the Bills. The only reason you're even thinking about it is because you don't want to get Josh Allen hurt, and I get that. But to me, you can't keep marching Nathan Peterman out there. I expect to keep a locker room. That guy shouldn't be on an NFL roster. But Josh Allen's not going to save him. The Chargers are going to kill him. Vikings at Packers. Well, first of all, do you think Aaron Rodgers plays? And then secondly, your game pick.
I think they're going to play Rodgers because if they don't win this game, that could mean the difference between playoffs and not playoffs. So they have to try and win every game they can, especially against division rival at home. But having said that, Rodgers is not going to be 100%, and against a fast, mobile defense, it's really going to show. So I think the Vikings will go into Green Bay and they'll win.
I agree with everything you just said, and I'll also, including your pick, I'll take the Vikings. I do think Rodgers plays, and I'll take the Vikings. Browns at Saints.
I think the Saints will come back and be at least good enough to beat the Browns.
Yeah, I will tell you. I'll tell you one thing. I really think those of you who need a quarterback this week, maybe the guy got hurt, or maybe you're not feeling good about who you drafted. If Tyrod Taylor's available, you might want to pick him up this week because if the Browns get blown out, they're going to be playing uphill. He might score you a lot of points this week. I'm just saying, but I'll take the Saints. Lions at the 49ers.
The way the Lions looked last week, I mean, the 49ers didn't look great again, but at least the 49ers were playing the Vikings. I mean, that's an excuse to look bad. Lions were playing the Jets and got absolutely destroyed. So I'm going to take the 49ers over the Lions.
I'm not as high on the 49ers this year as a lot of people have been. I'm one of those guys, I'll believe it when I see it. I thought what you saw from Jimmy Garoppolo and I understand the Vikings will do that for you, but we'll do that to you. But I don't know. I need more than a 7-game sample size to be sold on Jimmy G, but I do like the 49ers at home. I think the Lions are bad. Cardinals at the Rams. I guess really the best way to make this interesting is the spread is Rams minus 14. So the Rams are touchdown. Yeah, the Rams are 2 touchdown favorites against. That's an insane spread. So really, let's alter this one. Let's go ahead and alter this because obviously we would both take the Rams. So let's pick spread on this one. Do the Cardinals? Can the Cardinals play the Rams to within 13 points? Can they cover the spread?
No.
No, okay.
I don't think so because the thing about the Rams is they never really take their foot off the pedal. There's a lot of teams that once they get a lead, they just kind of beat the clock and then let the defense handle business, but the Rams are not that team. They keep scoring and scoring and scoring.
That's a lot of points, though, man.
Yeah,
a lot of points.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of points.
Garbage time could really screw that spread.
That's the thing. Garbage time, man. It could be one of those games that's so ugly that it gets, it could throw off the spread, and then, you don't think guys like David Johnson took a look at that spread and went, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, I guess I'll have to beat that myself." And he's an elite player.
I don't know. I think the Rams are going to move up because the Rams secondary has enough talent to just hold Fitzgerald. They don't need help. And then you're going to have 7, maybe 8 in the box the entire time for Johnson.
Yeah, I think the Rams cover. I'll take the Rams all the way. And I realize I actually jumped that game to go to Detroit, San Francisco. So I apologize to those of you who are We're following along here. Oh wait, no, I didn't. No, I flipped
didn't.
to a different. No, I flipped to a different screen. I flipped to the Vegas screen for the spreads. Okay, all right. So New England at Jacksonville. Apparently, one the Jaguars are really jacked up about after they barely lost the AFC Championship game last year. We might actually get a rare Jacksonville home game sellout, which gives you an idea of how good of a football town that is. Your
with
thoughts?
The hurricane?
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like that they're not going to be dealing with significant weather down in Jacksonville. Maybe some rain a little bit as a backdraft from the storms hitting the Carolinas. But really, it looks like that if any game's going to be impacted by it, it looks like it'll be Washington and Indianapolis more so than anyone else.
Pick the under on that one, I guess.
Yep. Anyway, New England at Jacksonville.
I think Jacksonville gets this. I believe their defense has grown more. I mean, their mouths definitely have, but I do believe there's actually talent and skill behind all that. And then, assuming Brady just doesn't pull magic out of a hat again, then I think the Jags will take this.
I saw how the Texans slowed them down. This defense is at least as good as that, but they don't have Leonard Fournette this week. But they do have C.J. Yeldon's a nice back to have in there. But I feel like for what they do and what they're good at, you've got to be at full strength. I'm going to take the Patriots, but I will openly admit I don't feel comfortable saying that only because of I just know how good Jacksonville's defense is, especially at home. That could be a rough. I could totally see them winning, but I'm going to take New England. So we disagree on that one.
I thought Fournette was still questionable.
Well, he's still questionable. Some people think he'll play, but you can't convince me that a running back with a hamstring injury concerns me. I mean, call me crazy, but a running back with a hamstring injury concerns me.
You never seen him do a handstand?
Yes, I'm taking New England. Raiders at the Broncos.
I refuse to believe Case Keenum will continue to win football. Raiders will somehow figure what they need to and beat the Broncos.
You know what? The Raiders don't have any pass rushers. What really, Case Keenum being undersized quarterback, he needs to roll out of the pocket. As you saw as a Vikings, he's got to roll out of the pocket and find targets. So you need defenders that can contain him. The Raiders don't have that. So I don't think they can stop him. And I sure as hell know the Denver defense is better. They're at home. I'll take the Broncos. We disagree there. Sunday Night Football. I would definitely take the under on this game. Giants at Cowboys.
Maybe the total score is supposed to be 10. Still take the under?
You know, the funny thing was, it's funny. A couple years ago, the Giants beat the Cowboys, and I think the score of that game was like 7-3. So it was that was that 10 you're referring to. So you might see something like that this week. You could.
Well, I do think it'll be low scoring, and I have the Giants over the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's funny. That game I just referred to, the reason why the Giants won it, Odell Beckham caught a long touchdown pass. The Cowboys otherwise completely shut down the Giants. They couldn't get anything going, but Odell caught a touchdown pass. He was the difference maker. He was the elite perimeter player that they had that night. The Cowboys didn't. There's just more chances for the Giants to make plays than for the Cowboys to, because they're otherwise the same team.
They can stretch the field easier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have this. I mean, they both have good defenses. I definitely think the Cowboys' defense is good, but after that, everything else is a question mark. And the Cowboys' offensive line isn't the best offensive line in the league right now, not without Travis Frederick. You have to take the Giants. They have more chance to make plays. Take the Giants. Monday Night Football, the Seahawks at the Bears.
I think the Seahawks defense has fallen further than people think. I mean, Case Keenum threw 3 interceptions and still scored 27 points, or 28, one of those, against the Seahawks defense that would never have let that happen in the past decade. And the Bears will score just enough, and Khalil Mack will have all the fun with that Seahawks offense. I think the Seahawks will lose.
I am also going to go with the Bears. I think that, lost in that insane comeback was the Bears did a number on Aaron Rodgers for a good chunk of that game. They did a number on a really good offensive line for most of that game. Now they get a really bad offensive line. And a Russell Wilson who doesn't have his best receiver in Doug Baldwin. Or a running game.
Khalil Mack might actually get through the line fast enough to where he'll just take the handoff.
You know what? He pretty much did that. I don't know. I mean, he did something very similar to that on Sunday. I think the Bears, I'm actually starting their defense in one of my fantasy leagues this week. I feel really good about that matchup. All right, so there we go. So just to recap our game picks, I think the ones we disagree on, Carolina and Atlanta, you like the Falcons, I like the Panthers. We disagree on
I took the
looks
Colts.
like Indy and Washington we disagree on. And we disagree on Oakland, Denver, New England, and Jacksonville. So 4 games we disagree on. So we'll see how that goes. And I'll figure out how I did last week, and we can figure out how how to push this thing forward the rest of the season. We'll see who's better at picking games.
Well, based on last week, I'm not as confident.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how I did last week, so I can't talk any mess until I know. Okay, so I promised some good stuff, and I've been waiting to get to this one because me being a member of the media, I really, really, really want to talk about this. Small town in the state of Missouri is really unhappy because there's a brand new newspaper that's been launched there called the Uranus Examiner, not the Uranus Examiner, the Uranus Examiner, and that is the name of their newspaper. And the mayor of nearby Waynesville says, "No, I'm sorry, but the innuendo of that title plus puts the city up for public ridicule." Shut up,
yeah.
man. That's a badass title, but I love it. Uranus Examiner, I love it. I love it. You go find a proctologist to sponsor and buy an ad in your paper. That's what I would do. And I think the best thing is because I was reading the report on BBC, and they were the paper's managing editor talked to someone from KY3. I can't even make this up. I couldn't make this up if I tried. All right, KY3 is the name of a station that the Uranus Examiner talked to. That's the story. That's all I wanted to get to there.
You could really get a number of sponsors there. Is it like a normal, like a Times or New York or just normal
It's just like a local newspaper. It's a local newspaper. It's a local newspaper called the Uranus Examiner.
Yeah, you could get proctologists. You could get porn star. Do the little thing in there.
Plumbers for damn sure.
Yeah, plumbers. Right at the crack of the paper, you put a plumber in there.
Yeah, maybe someone who sells vegetables. Gotta stay regular. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Also, something that I think is interesting, this would happen in LA, but yeah, there is a sperm bank in LA that specializes in finding the lookalikes of famous celebrities. So if you want to get artificially inseminated, you can get the sperm of a guy who looks like David Beckham or looks like, Edward Norton, Leonardo DiCaprio, whatever, right? That's their whole business. Lookalikes like celebrities. And apparently, the most popular one in the group, Ben Affleck. You surprised?
Yeah, I thought there were a lot more Marvel fans out there.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Well, there's a lot of Ben Affleck fans. For all the crap that he gets, apparently he's pretty popular.
Huh.
Maybe that's why he gets the crap that he gets. Maybe people, I don't know.
The
Guys
haters?
know how. Yeah, haters.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Not everyone can be Batman.
Right. Look, I will say this, and I think you'll back me up on this. Ben Affleck was a great Batman. If you don't think the movie was very good with Batman versus Superman, that's a whole other thing. But when I look at the list of things wrong with that movie, Ben Affleck is not on the list.
No, I didn't have a problem with his performance.
No, I thought he was a really good Batman.
I didn't have a problem with Henry Cavill. It's just story for me.
Yeah. That's what it was to me. The movie kind of dragged, and there wasn't enough fighting, and then the whole plot was a little odd, but all kinds of plot holes. But seriously, though, I mean, Ben Affleck was not the problem with that movie. I thought he was a really good Batman. Oh, man. You know what? I am, but I'm also not, because, like, it's not in the MCU, which sucks, but at the same time, like, for as bad of a choice as Topher Grace was for Venom, Tom Hardy is that great of a choice to go in the opposite way. They could not have found a better person to play Eddie Brock than Tom Hardy. Not possible.
Yeah, I love Tom Hardy. I can't think of a single role where I was like, that was shit. Like, I can't think of one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, dude, that you can watch Tom Hardy, because here's the obscure role people don't know about, and of course you know that I would know this role. He was a villain in a Star Trek movie, and that movie, it's not great. It's called Star Trek Nemesis. It's not great, but it's all right, and he's the reason why it's all right. I mean, he's Tom Hardy. He's really skinny. This is like when he was a lot younger, and he's really skinny in it, but he's a badass villain, dude. I'm telling you. You know, I know you're not a Star Trek guy, dude. I'm just telling you, it's worth checking that one out. Anyone wants to see an obscure Tom Hardy movie, go watch Star Trek Nemesis. If you're not a Star Trek fan, go watch it. Like, he's a good villain. He's pretty hardcore. Like, he's definitely he earned his paycheck on that one, even though the movie's not very good. But yeah, I'm excited for Venom, dude. I just wish that this was in the MCU, and I wish we got to see Tom Holland and the new Spider-Man go up against Venom, because, like, we still have not gotten the true Spider-Man Venom story for the screen that we've been wanting. We haven't gotten that, and this new Venom isn't going to give us that.
Well, maybe it's leading up to it, like the introduction of Venom, because a lot of people don't know much about Venom. A lot of people. So
right, that's true.
This could be just an intro movie to see, okay, what the hell is Venom all about? And then maybe a future one where hopefully when Disney's done buying all of entertainment, then they can combine them.
Yeah, at the same time, though, like, such a big part of that anthology is Eddie Brock's relationship with Peter Parker, and then the symbiote getting off of Spider-Man and onto Eddie Brock, and him becoming, Venom and like that. And that's why I think that Tom Hardy's such a great choice. He's so perfect for Brock. He's big. He's a terrific actor. Like, Tom Hardy's one of the 5 best actors in Hollywood right now, and you can argue he's the best. And just for them to get him as Venom is terrific. I just wish that it was coming in the form of that story that, Peter Parker was there first. It was his symbiote, then it was Eddie Brock. Like, Brock getting it first. I mean, they have to change around the whole dynamic of how that whole thing played out. But, like, my hope is that if the movie sucks, that they just recast Tom Hardy as Venom and then they just put him in a Spider-Man sequel. That's my hope. Because they could not have cast a better guy. Like, they hit a home run on that. It's just everything else that I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I think it'll definitely be worth seeing.
Yeah, so I saw The Predator last night.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I gotta see that this weekend.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. It's completely different from the other threes, from the other 3 Predators. Because, like, it's first, like, the tone of the movie, it's very light. Like, they had fun. Like, the guys are joking. Like, the guy from Key and Peele, like, that, he's like I would say he's the comic relief, but the whole squad they're a bunch of, like, comedians. And so the movie is definitely more lighthearted with them, and just the dynamic of being more playful and having fun with the movie. And I actually like the story. I think the problem is that there's a lot of crap that's in the movie that doesn't need to be in it. And it takes the movie down several notches.
Huh.
Yeah, and also I didn't like you'll see what I'm talking about, like just the where they end up going with the whole Predator, because like it does give you insight into the origin of the Predator, which is outstanding, but where that path leads to, I thought was kind of stupid. It's all right. The funny thing is Janelle, my wife, has never seen she'd never seen any of the Predator movies, ever. So like, I was like, oh crap, we got to catch you up. I didn't catch her up, so that was her first one. She liked it. I'm like, well, she's gonna love the one with Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say it's like a 5.5, 6 movie for me.
That's like starting the Godfather series at 3, and then be like, oh, I like that one. It's like, well, I got a treat for you.
Right, exactly. I will say this: I think I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Predators, the one with Lawrence Fishburne and Adrian Brody.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, it really, honestly, that movie would have been fine. It's just like you have a movie about predators that are just there to kill, and all they do is stab. All they do is stab people, except for that one guy that gets his skull ripped out. Like, that was awesome. But other than that, they all just get stabbed or shot. It was just dumb, There was no awesome deaths. And I will say this about the Predator: there are some epically good deaths. Like, if you just like to see Predator badassness and the way he kills humans, if that's like high on your list of things you want to see, you will probably enjoy the movie, because there are really, really, really good death scenes. Like, he's got some cool little tools he likes to play with.
Well, that's the only reason I saw more than one Saw movie and more than one Final Destination movie, so some crazy stuff like that.
Final Destination, man. And that stuff is fantastic, man. If you just need a way to just see Murphy's Law in full effect, that movie's perfect. I mean, the stuff that death does to kill them is extraordinary. Like, especially in the first one, that the teacher, her house gets burned down. She dies like 8 times in that movie. She gets like shrapnel hits her in the neck and she's bleeding, and she reaches up for a towel to stop the bleeding, and then the knife falls on her and stabs her. It's like, she dies so many times before she gets blown up. It's crazy.
They had to really make sure that was done.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story. It was a guy for the Chargers, and I'm going off memory, guys. I'm not like looking this up because I didn't know we were going to go into this topic. But there was a guy from the Chargers who was playing golf, and he got struck by lightning. And while they were trying to resuscitate him, he got struck again.
Huh.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty funny, actually. I mean, it's that little dark sense of humor. I would have written that on my tombstone, That's up there on a way of like, just like, wow, ways to go.
So it didn't restart his heart; it just kind of killed him harder.
No, it just killed him. Apparently, lightning is bad for you, and I tell people, for all the religious folks out there, God wanted that one dead. Just like,
twice in a few seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if a dude gets struck by lightning and they're trying to resuscitate him and get struck again, it was his time to go. That's like, one way or another. Yeah, that was it for him.
Well, think about the poor bastards trying to resuscitate him. It's gotta suck for them too.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, did they get struck too? Was there like what would you call that, an aftershock? There's got to be a term for that. Secondhand lightning. I don't even know what the hell that would be. It
would be shitty. That's what it would be.
Yeah, it would not be fun. Yeah, so there you go. And I don't think I've seen anything else crazy recently. I've been watching a lot of Better Call Saul, which is getting really good. I don't know if you caught up on that, but like, for a lot of people who thought that show was slow, and believe me, I understand why. I'll tell you, this is the season you've been waiting for, because this is like the formation of all the mobster stuff we saw in Breaking Bad, and it is fantastic.
I've seen through 3.
Yeah, watch season 4, dude. It is it's their best work to date. This one feels the most like Breaking Bad of all of them, and then because they're getting really deep into the, what Gus Fring and Mike are doing.
Okay,
it's good stuff, man.
Something I did see last week, which Is Peppermint.
Peppermint. I didn't even heard of it.
It's an extremely shitty version of Punisher.
I haven't even heard of this movie.
Jennifer Gardner gets really pissed off and kills a lot of gangbangers.
Hadn't they done that movie before with Jodie Foster? Wasn't it called The Lucky One? Or something like that?
They've made this movie 100 times.
It was called Man on Fire the first time I saw it, and it was really good. It was really good. It had Denzel Washington, Dakota Fanning. It was fantastic.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between Denzel Washington and Jennifer Gardner.
Well, there's also a difference between Dakota Fanning and Jennifer Gardner, so you would have been right either way.
Yeah, but Dakota Fanning didn't do a whole lot of killing in that movie.
Yeah. Do you remember that movie we saw when we were kids? There was a movie called Paparazzi.
Oh, that movie
and it was
sucked.
That movie was so terrible. Guys, if you haven't, oh man, Paparazzi is just, it's all it is just, it's Man on Fire, but with cameras. And it's just the stupidest thing you will ever see. And if you haven't seen Man on Fire, watch Paparazzi first, then go back and watch Man on Fire and see how much better of a movie that is.
That's basically what Peppermint is. It's all of that exact story that's been told over and over and over, but this one, it tries to be all visceral and gritty, but it's just, yeah. That's the beauty and the bad thing about these movie passes that are all over the place now, is that you have them and you can see whatever free movies you want, but then you end up seeing really crappy movies and not caring as much because it was just a monthly charge.
Yeah, but I'm down for that though, because I'll see anything. I'm willing to give any movie a chance, because you never know. Like, you'll find some gems in there, and there are movies that I saw that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. Like that movie. Here's one that I saw with I, Tonya. I saw that the Tonya Harding one, which that one's fantastic, by the way, because it's funny. Like everyone looks at that movie as like, oh, it's a drama about Tonya Harding, and I'm like, first of all, even if it was, that's a funny story. It's a great story. It's not every day that you hear one figure skater may or may not have put a hit on the other one. Like that's not an everyday story. And then, but the movie's presented as a comedy is really good. I saw that because of Movie Pass. I saw a bunch of stuff. I saw Black Klansman the other day. That was really good.
That was better than I expected. Because usually I don't like Spike Lee, but he took a very balanced approach on this one, and I thought it came out great.
It was really funny. It was really funny. I think that the best thing I heard about that was, I don't know if you heard this story. Apparently, the actual actor, or the actual guy, the detective who infiltrated the KKK, apparently David Duke called him. David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK, called him and said he was concerned about his portrayal in the movie Black Klansman. That he was afraid he'd be portrayed negatively, which I think is probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Was, so you didn't think, being the Grand Wizard of the KKK portrayed you negatively. You're concerned about your portrayal in this movie. You're afraid that they'll make you look like what? A racist? A clown? Like what? What scenario did you think you would be painted in a positive light when you're the Grand Wizard of the KKK?
Maybe he thought they wouldn't make him racist enough.
Maybe that's what it was. You know what? I would have done worse. You guys fictionalize it a little bit. It's Hollywood, I thought seeing Eric Foreman as David Duke was interesting, but he did all right.
No, that was great casting. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, he did all right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually liked it. I thought Kylo Ren did a good job in there too. Man, it all worked.
He's Adam Driver, but sure.
He's Kylo Ren. He's Kylo Ren, man. He's Kylo Ren. He look, you don't get to like Ben Affleck is Batman. Like, I mean, when there's certain roles where you take on, you're not getting out of it. Like, you're going to be that guy forever. And that's one of them. Like, I don't care what happens to Tom Holland's career from here on out. He's Spider-Man.
No, I disagree.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, that's fine. You're wrong. But, Robert Downey's Iron Man.
No, see, you're listing a lot of actors that... Well, Holland hasn't really had much of a career before Spider-Man. the other guys had careers before their roles. So, like,
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
Daniel
but
Radcliffe will always be Harry Potter because that was how he started, and he did it for what, a decade. So that makes sense.
You don't think that you can play a specific role so well for a movie that's so big that that's your principal thing you're remembered for? Because you know what? Christian Bale is another one of the top 5 actors in Hollywood, and he's been in all kinds of movies. But you know what? He's Batman, dude.
No, I preferred him in a lot of other roles more to Batman.
I'm not suggesting that. My favorite Nolan film is The Prestige. I'm just saying that once he did Batman, and as big as that movie is, like Christian Bale's Batman.
No, you're short-sighted as hell.
Okay, I say Heath Ledger. What comes to your mind first, Brokeback Mountain or The Joker?
Well, I enjoy Dark Knight a lot more than Brokeback Mountain.
Okay, whatever. But the point being, though, is that like he got nominated for an Oscar for both of those movies. Those are his 2 biggest roles. No one talks about Brokeback Mountain. Everyone talks about The Joker.
Everyone enjoyed it more, that movie. Not to mention, he kind of died right after that movie, so...
Joker drove him to the edge of insanity. Look, all I'm saying is, like, there are certain roles, like, you can be an actor with range and all kinds of stuff, but there are certain roles that if you take them, like, because the thing is, Robert Downey Jr. took Iron Man and made that his own. Like, I understand he was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I love that movie. But, like, he seriously, like, that movie... Iron Man, his role as Tony Stark, he took that thing and made it his own. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Okay, the only way, as far as I will concede on this point, is saying it backwards. Iron Man is Tony Stark. Captain America is Chris Evans. Saying it the other direction.
See, you said Iron Man is Tony Stark, not Robert Downey Jr. You see what I'm saying? Like, see, because Robert Downey Jr. in your head is Tony Stark. That's my point.
No, that's not my point. It's because you just said it, and then I'm a simple creature.
Okay, fine, whatever.
But that's as much
I think
as
you
I
get
can
my
see.
point. No, but Robert Downey Jr. made Iron Man his own. I mean, he took that role and he made it his. Like, he is Tony Stark.
No, that's fine. My point is, when you think Iron Man, you think Robert Downey Jr. I get that. I'll concede to that, sure. But not that Robert Downey Jr. is only Iron Man. That doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying that he's only. I'm saying that that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, that's who people are gonna. When people associate Iron Man, they're gonna think Robert Downey Jr. Oh, Iron Man. That's what they're gonna think. They're not gonna think, oh, that guy from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. They're gonna think Iron Man.
Why you gotta say one of his least known movies?
First of all, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is his best movie, so you can go to hell because that movie is fantastic.
I didn't say it wasn't. What I said is one of the smaller known ones.
Whatever. That's people's fault. That movie's outstanding. That's probably his best movie.
Look, you cock goblin. I didn't say it wasn't.
What did you call me?
A cock goblin.
What did you call me? All right. See. We were trying to play nice. I was good with you all the way until you started trying to argue this Robert Downey Jr. point.
Yeah, because you hate being wrong.
No, you're wrong. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, dude.
I'm saying Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr.
But Robert Downey Jr. isn't Iron Man.
No, he's many things.
Look, I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying he's principally Iron Man.
I'm going to start a poll.
Go ahead, start a poll.
I'm going to start a thing on Twitters, and then we'll see how this works.
Yeah, okay, fine. We'll do that. We can add that to one of our game picks. We'll see who's we'll see who gets more votes on that.
I got to think of how I want to word it, and then I'll post it, and then you tweet it or retweet it, so we'll get more people.
Hey, whatever you want to call it. Our listeners are going to back me up. I already know this, and Twitter's going to back me up, and it's all good. But we'll see how it goes. We got plenty of stuff to disagree on. We've got 4 games we don't agree on. We've got Robert Downey Jr.'s legacy we don't agree on, and I don't know. We got carried away, but it was a fun show. I had a good time, guys. I can't wait for this week.
Yeah, this will be really sweet to watch. I'm pumped. Really pumped.
I'm super jacked too. The other one I'm really jacked for is Halloween, man. As a horror movie fan, horror movies have had a little bit of a resurgence this year because most of the time they suck. But there was that movie that came out this year, A Quiet Place, which was fantastic, and then another one called Heredity, which was really good. And now they got the new Halloweens coming out, which the sequels will crap when a studio comes in and says, we're just going to pretend that none of that other crap ever happened. 20, 30 years worth of movies never happened. Only the first one happened.
You're just going right back to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Dude, they retconned an entire generation's worth of movies. That's how crappy the sequels to the Halloween were. And I liked some of those sequels. I actually liked H2O. I liked her chopping his head off at the end. I hated the one they did after that. Whatever. Anyway, I'm excited for that too. So it's going to be a fun year. Anyway, I had a good time with this. He's Goods. I'm Danny. Vote on Twitter who Robert Downey Jr. is. Y'all know he's Iron Man. Y'all know it's true. But again, follow him on Twitter at Fire and Miss. Follow me on Twitter at Danny Mata Jr. And we'll keep track of how our game picks go this week. Have fun, folks. Enjoy it.
Later.